Good evening and welcome to our live call-in show from Opelousas General here at Cardiovascular Institute of South at Opelousas General Hospital. This evening, as you might have noted, the topic is what if all leg pain is not arthritis or old age. I think the focus we are trying to get our audience to is to talk about PAD or peripheral arterial disease, and also with our special guest tonight we have a special interest in structural heart disease, which we'll discuss that term and go in depth analyzing what is structural heart disease, what are the newer, latest and greatest modalities of treatment. With that, I have two of my new kids on the block here, not necessarily new kids in the business, but two of my partners that I want to warmly welcome to this show. One of them is Dr. Nick Cavros. Both of them came together from the Carolinas. Both are interventional cardiologists, with Dr. Cavros having a special interest in peripheral arterial disease, and Dr. Patterson also a special interest in coronary artery disease and structural heart disease. John and Nick, welcome to the show. Please say a few words to our audience about your background and your passions and what brought you down to Southern Louisiana.
Well, thank you, Cal. Southern Louisiana is such a great place. The interest to come down here was basically from a long-standing relationship with one of your group's founders, actually Craig Walker, and through his conference I got to know a lot of the people here, and there was interest in getting us down here, and we took a look at the place and fell in love with it, and so we're here. My passion is coronary disease and peripheral arterial disease. Peripheral arterial disease has been one of the most strongest passions of my career, especially in the last 5 years, escalating with my experience with the New Cardiovascular Horizons conference here in New Orleans that we have. It is a severely debilitating issue, as we are going to be discussing here today, and hopefully I can help a lot of the people here get over some of their maladies.
Yeah. Absolutely, John.
Well, and likewise, we came down together. It was a bit of an interesting story. Both of us were interested in trying to find a program that needed growth, an opportunity to bring something new to a community. When we came down to visit for the initial interviews, we realized the significant amount of atherosclerotic disease that is down here, but also really a unidentified portion of structural heart, which is one of my focuses, in particular, fixing holes in the heart that people are born with. And I think that really the opportunity for us to elevate the level of care and complement what has already been well established really is what attracted us to the area. Of course, it's funny when you come down here, you really realize how wonderful the community is and what a good place it is to raise kids, and so that really cinched that for myself.
Those are very warm, those are very good observations, considering that I've been here for close to 6-7 years. I've been in Louisiana for a good 10 years, but South Louisiana definitely is a whole world in itself. It seems like a whole different entity where definitely people are very warm and genuine, and what you see is what you get, kind of. Yeah. And there is a different kind of charm and beauty about that. And before we get into the discussion of tonight, and I also want to just briefly discuss about the partnership between Lafayette General and Opelousas General that has started in the recent months, and is just under the leadership of both David Calcott, who's the CEO, and our CEO here at Opelousas General. Both of these hospitals have formed an active partnership, primarily as it pertains to all the higher levels of care that we might not necessarily be able to provide at Opelousas General, wherein create a very easy channel of communication between both these hospitals, so we can share and use the resources of both these hospitals. How do you view this new partnership, especially as it pertains to cardiovascular disease?
Well, I mean, as you pointed out, each facility has their strengths, and by having a partnership like this, what we found in previous experience is that you really can maximize a patient's care. In other words, someone in this community who needs to have coronary arteries open, well, we have that ability here. But if we are talking about adding in structural heart problem, then now by having the relationship, it's an easy transfer. The communication is such that patients can maintain their primary care locally. They can even take care of fairly complex problems. But if they need that one extra level of care, then perhaps they can come in our direction for the repair, and then follow up in their community. Because we have this relationship, the communication between physicians is much better. And your ability to communicate to me on a specific problem with a patient, my ability to communicate back what we've done to help take care of that problem so that you can better follow up with that patient, and then that patient can really remain home and at home hospital much longer.
Nick,
I think it's very exciting for us to be able to complement the excellent care that you guys
Exactly.
already have here at Opelousas General, and to provide just that extra level of care, whether it be heart surgery or structural heart interventional procedures, kind of complementing whatever is done here, and just assisting in the great care that's being provided by you guys here, and also the primary care providers here, which do an excellent job as well.
But Whitney, you find, the partnership from your perspective is really about having good communication.
Absolutely, and I think just having that multidisciplinary, having that one-on-one relation, rather than sending a patient for a higher level of care, be it cardiac surgery or be it some kind of an advanced structural heart thing, having to communicate with those few physicians that you have relied on time and again, repeatedly. You pick up a phone call and you say, I got such and such problem, and one call, a 10-minute deal. Patients, most of all, it's not so much to facilitate our business, it's all facilitating the patient's level of care and simplifying it, and the advanced care, which sometimes can be very intimidating when they're very sick.
That's right.
So they can rely on that network of people to make sophisticated decisions very quickly and make their life simpler. And I think that was the biggest goal here, and clearly if it translates to other objectives, that's a separate story. But
this clearly is not the sterile example of the past where you call a larger facility to transfer a patient, you get in contact with some administrator or maybe some physician, kind of briefly send some records over, and that's done. This is much more like a family operation. We talk as a family. You call me, I call you. The patient gets taken care of like family as well, and it's seamless and it's nice and tight and very succinct.
Especially that the patients here rely on that, and I think with the simplicity of their lives and all that, they like that warmth and communication and simplicity and reassurance. While physicians can be very sophisticated and can provide sophisticated services, but that simple human touch, I guess, is irreplaceable.
And it builds their confidence knowing that you've had a one-to-one conversation, you know the results of the procedure that's been performed, your follow-up is much more educated than if we just made a brief phone call and maybe send some records,
Looks like we already have a caller here, Lucille from Opelousas on line 1 here. Lucille, go ahead. You're live here. You have a question for us, dear?
Yes, I have a question. To my left leg down to my hip, to my toes, it's cold and it's very, very numb. And I was wondering what could be the cause of that.
Okay, very good.
Nick, that's a very broad question, but you basically asked that the leg is cold from hip to the toes.
This is a question very appropriate for the day. And Lucille, just a few questions to answer on yourself. If this happened today, and this happened relatively acutely within the past few hours or so, and if it feels cold and it was previously warm, then certainly you need to seek some medical attention to make sure that there is not an acute artery blockage of the leg that needs to be taken care of right now. There are other issues that can cause numbness and coldness of the leg, certainly back problems and other issues, but we try to make sure that the most devastating issue is not happening and exclude that before we go on to some of the other less problematic issues. So I would really strongly advise you, make sure somebody takes a look at that leg tonight and make sure that there's no significant blockage that happened right now. If it's something less severe, then so be it, and it can be taken care of down the road. But let's make sure that's not an issue tonight.
Definitely, Lucille. Dr. Carros correctly pointed out, there could be many reasons, including coldness and numbness. So the topic of our night is peripheral arterial disease, or PAD. If you have coolness and numbness and difficulty in walking where the legs tighten up or give out, or have just simply that when you're sleeping your legs have pain, so you have to dangle them, or if you keep them elevated, they start bothering you. Those are all suggestive of chronic arterial problems. But all these assessments can be made by a physician, be it if it is, as he said, if it is very acute, it happened in a few hours, it is very intense, you need to get attention quickly. And with that, we'll remind the audience again, as she called in, this is a live call-in show. The number is at the bottom of your screen there, and we are talking to tonight's discussion, which we'll get to now, is just whether all leg pain is just arthritis, old age, or is it something bigger? Is it peripheral arterial disease, or is it more? With that, I just want to give some basic outline of statistics of the burden of this so-called PAD, or this leg pain problem. The prevalence of this peripheral arterial disease, put alone, is greater than that of the prevalence of congestive heart failure and stroke in this country. Somewhere about 8 to 12 million people are affected by this at any given time, and it is more like comparable to the incidence of myocardial infarction or heart attack. And the risk for major cardiovascular events, be it heart attacks or strokes or other types of vascular events, is close to 5% every year. In patients that have a diagnosis of PAD, the possibility of having strokes and heart attacks could go up to 5%. And critical limb ischemia, when you say that, and when it is very advanced to the extent that they have ulcers, or they have gangrene, or they have this ankle brachial index, which is really low, or less than 0.4, the mortality can go up to 25%. We'll go in more detail during the show about this critical limb ischemia and this whole ankle brachial index. Somewhere about, if you take the population in general, if anybody over 40 years old, somewhere about 4 to 5% of the people are affected by peripheral arterial disease. And if you take people over 70 years of age, somewhere between 15 and 20% of the people can be affected by varying degrees of peripheral arterial disease, or PAD. So, most of the people that are diagnosed do not have classic symptoms. That becomes a big problem. So we really have to dig deeper. And among smokers and diabetics, peripheral arterial disease develops a whole decade earlier than people without those risk factors. That's a significant issue which we'll be talking about tonight again and again. And the mortality rate, or the death rate with patients with PVD, is 5 to 6% per year. And the cardiovascular events, means heart attack and strokes, these are the main events that contribute to the death of the patients in an overwhelming majority of the people diagnosed with PAD. It's not so much that the leg problems kill them, but the coexistence of cardiovascular problems, including the heart problems, including strokes, kill them. With that introduction, now that brings us to the crux of this discussion. We were talking about why all of us are involved. It's kind of a full circle, that if people have PAD, there is a high incidence of coexistence of cardiovascular, means heart attack and stroke. In the past, when we were training and all that, we would send patients to surgery and we would take care of that problem, and everything else is forgotten. We didn't think of it as a whole package deal. How do you think we have changed our understanding in the past decade about PAD?
We now know that PAD and CAD from the heart and carotid disease, it's all one disease. It's not a different entity. In the past, we kind of siloed things with cardiologists, with vascular specialists, and there was some confusion. But now we've clarified the issue. It is one disease that affects every place. It may not be as bad in one place as another at a given time, but it's the same disease process that affects